Oh my god, what is happening? Just when I want to make a video, there's something going on here. Anyway, let's ignore that. Hi BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader. Please do ignore the huge pimple monster thing that is happening right there between my eyebrows. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, as I've already stated. You know me, I love musicals, I love books, so let's combine both. So this is a new tag that I'm creating. It's going to be the My Favorite Musicals tag. And I will be tagging some people right away. I will be tagging Steve Donahue, Sean the Bookmaniac, Britta Bowler. I will also tag Sarah from Hardcover Hearts and Leo from the new channel, the up-and-coming channel, A Little Book Life. So there you go. So, what is this book tag about? What do you have to do? Basically, you have to come up with a list of your favorite musicals, explain why those musicals, and then pair each musical with a book for whatever reason you want. So the way that I am doing it is I am choosing my favorite 10 musicals. So this is going to be like a top 10 kind of list in actual ranking order. However, if you want to do this tag, you can do it however you want. You can choose 3 musicals, you can choose 5, you can choose 100, you can choose 1. I don't care, as long as we talk about musicals and our love for books. So I'm gonna start with number 10 and work my way up to number 1, my number 1 favorite musical ever. These might not be the best musicals objectively, however, they are my favorite for different reasons. So it's a very personal kind of list. Now, this video could take forever, so I'm gonna get started right away and try to keep it as brief as possible. So coming in at number 10 is the musical Spring Awakening. Mama who bore me, mama who gave me no way to handle things, who made me so bad. I freaking love Spring Awakening, the musical. It's a musical that I saw around 5-6 times when it was here. The Mexican production, which was spectacular. It was really, really great. It is a musical that is really groundbreaking and original because it addresses some very universal historical issues and topics, but it addresses those issues through a very modern, weird kind of lens. It is the story of these teenagers who are coming into, adulthood. They are growing up and they have to start understanding sexuality, and they are very ill-equipped to understand sexuality because this takes place in Victorian times, like, I don't know, 19th century, I guess. But the music is rock and pop, so it's a very modern, contemporary show, but the subject matter is sort of historical and universal. So I am choosing to pair Spring Awakening the musical with the book 10th of December by George Saunders, because this book also addresses universal issues of masculinity and what it means to be a parent and a father in particular, and very important subject matter as work and living a good life and what the hell that means, having a good life, what is that? But it addresses those things through a very contemporary feeling writing style. So there you go, that's number 10. Now coming in at number 9 is Beauty and the Beast, the Disney Broadway classic par excellence. Now, Beauty and the Beast was the first show that I saw live. By the way, for this list, I am only including shows that I actually saw live on stage. So I am not counting recordings, albums, soundtracks, scores, movies. I'm not including West Side Story, for example, because I've only seen the movie. I have never seen the show, or Evita or Grease. Those are out of the question. I am only including shows that I actually witnessed live on stage on a professional level. So, Beauty and the Beast. was the first one that I ever saw when I was around 6, and it blew my mind, and it left such a great impression on me that has been forever lasting. So Beauty and the Beast is a show that I connect, that I associate very strongly with my childhood, and so the book that I am choosing to pair with Beauty and the Beast is none other than the most cliched option possible to talk about childhood books. But it is my one true answer. This is the book that opened up my eyes to the world of reading and books, and it gave me the same joy and the same feeling of wonderment as Beauty and the Beast did for theater. What Beauty and the Beast was for me for the medium of the theater, Harry Potter was for the medium of reading, of books. So yeah, that's number 9. Now for number 8, I actually have a tie. And these are two musicals that are somewhat similar. And I was able to see both of these wonderful shows on Broadway last year. So they are My Fair Lady and Carousel. I saw Carousel with this amazing cast that signed my playbill. So Joshua Henry, who is wonderful, Jesse Mueller, who is wonderful, Lindsay Mendez, who is wonderful, and Renee Fleming. So this show has probably my favorite music of any Broadway show ever, just because it's a perfect score. Like if you listen to the album, to the recording, the cast album of Carousel, it's one timeless classic after another. I mean, the first track is the overture, which is beautiful, and then Mr. Snow, which is his name is Mr. Snow, and an upstanding man is he. And then you get If I Loved You. If I loved you time and again, I would try to say. And then you have When the Children Are Asleep, and June is bursting all over. And then walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. So this is classical Broadway at its finest. And then My Fair Lady, you know, it's pretty much one of the best things ever. I saw My Fair Lady with Harry Hatton Payton, Lauren Ambrose, Norbert Leo Butz, Jordan Donica, this wonderful cast. And it's a marvelous production. It's closing in July this year, but I'm so grateful that I was able to see it. I wanted to kill myself. It was so good. So anyway, because these are two classics, two big Broadway musical staples of musical theater, I am going with a classical book, a classical work of literature. And what is more beloved in the classical realm and on BookTube than Jane Eyre? I mean, come on. There's just something essential that links Jane Eyre to something like My Fair Lady, for example. Oh, and the music from My Fair Lady, it's stunning. I mean, it's music that I've been listening to since I was 5 or 6. I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more. My grandmother used to sing to me, I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. So, yeah, My Fair Lady. Anyway, that was number 8. Now for number 7, I have something slightly more controversial, and that is Love Never Dies. If you don't know what Love Never Dies is, well, it is the sequel to The Phantom of the Opera. It is very problematic. It is a very problematic show. A lot of people have a lot of issues with it. And even though it is one of my favorite musicals ever, I do understand why the criticism is there. And yeah, it's a show that is not without its flaws, let's say. However, I love it because the music is absolutely wonderful. It's lavish and exuberant and completely dramatic. And I was able to see it in London. It was yeah, the show has a very chaotic history on stage, but I was able to catch the original London production with the original cast, the best Christine, Sierra Boggess, and the best Phantom, Ramin Karimloo. What an amazing performance from both of them. I had chills just listening to them, listening to Sierra Boggess sing the title song, Love Never Dies. Love never dies, love will continue. Oh, chills. I mean, I was blubbering like an idiot. It was a weird show, and as I said, it is not without its flaws, but I absolutely adore it. So, because Love Never Dies is an unlikely sequel, I am choosing a book that is also an unlikely sequel, a sequel that is just as good as the original, if not better. This is The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, and it is book number 2 in his Dark Materials, so it is technically a sequel. And you know, a lot of people really like book number 1, which is Northern Lights or The Golden Compass, because I feel like that is a more mainstream kind of book. However, this is where things get real. This is where his Dark Materials starts feeling like his Dark Materials to me. So, The Subtle Knife. I will be rereading his Dark Materials this year, so if you want to read that along with me, just, you know, keep that in mind and we can arrange something. So that was number 7. Now for number 6, I have another tie, and that is Avenue Q and the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon is a show that I've seen on Broadway and in Chicago, and it's coming to Mexico this year. And Avenue Q, I've seen it in Mexico and I've seen it in New York a couple times. And they are amazing shows that you can see 1,000 times because they are so funny, so enjoyable, and so smart. So the book that I am pairing with those two comical masterpieces of musical theater is P.G. Wodehouse. P.G. Wodehouse is an author that is hilarious to me. He is very charming. He is sophisticated, but he's just so witty and so hilarious. Like, I have cried with laughter from reading this book, and he is so smart. So, yeah, there you go. Number 6, Book of Mormon, Avenue Q. Read some P.G. Wodehouse. Coming in at number 5 is Wicked. And some of you might be rolling your eyes right now because Wicked is incredibly popular and mainstream, and I wish I could be choosing something more obscure and sophisticated, but the truth is I grew up obsessing over Wicked. I would rehearse Defying Gravity since like age 13, and yeah, it's a show that has defined me in many ways. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. It's not a perfect show, but it is a show that I really love, and I've seen it many times. I saw it on Broadway. I've seen it in Broadway like 3 times. In Mexico, I saw it twice. I've seen it in the American tour. I've seen many different versions of the show, but yeah, Wicked. So, Wicked, a Wicked book. So, I am choosing 2 books that I think are deliciously evil and wicked. One of them is The Dumb House by John Burnside. It's about this man who is doing some crazy experiments to understand and determine if the human soul is connected to the human body, and how, and many weird things that I honestly don't remember all that well, but it is a weird little book. And the other one is The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis, which is about this really strange and deliciously twisted character who does some really wicked things. So there you go. Wicked! Coming in at number 4 is Les Mis, Les Miserables. Again, a very popular choice. I know. But hey, what can I do? It's another musical that has really defined me as a person, as a musical geek. I've seen Les Mis in Broadway. I've seen it in London. I've seen it here in Mexico. We just had a production that just closed. Really great show. I've always loved the songs, the story, the novel by Victor Hugo. So yeah, I just love the show. What can I say? Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is them on my own, pretending he's beside me in my life. I have all that I want, you are loving and gentle and good. Valjean, at last, we see each other plain. Monsieur le Maire, you'll wear a different chain. Vocal damage. Jean Valjean is nothing now. Another story must begin. Anyway, vocal damage. This is what happens when you do not warm up. Anyway, Les Mis. Historical fiction. So I am choosing a book that I am currently reading right now. It is historical fiction with a fantasy element. It is a series of 4 books that were originally written in German and were translated to Spanish, but have not been translated to English, so I could not tell you what the title would be in English. The title in Spanish is El Círculo del Crepúsculo, which would translate literally to something like the Circle of Twilight or the Circle of Dawn or something like that. So if you can read Spanish, be my guest, read this baby because it is good. If you do not, well, sorry for you. That's what happens when you only know English. Coming in at number 3 is my favorite musical that I have ever seen in Mexico. Do you want to know what it is? Do you want a clue? The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. Again, vocal damage. This is what happens when you have a little bit of reflux, a lot of phlegm, and you do not warm up. Don't be like me. So, The Sound of Music is... it's my favorite musical that I've seen in Mexico. We had an amazing production, the best production that I've ever seen on a Mexican stage. We had that like 10 years ago, and I went to see The Sound of Music like 6 times. It was a life-changing experience. A life-freaking changing experience. And so The Sound of Music to me represents the good of this world and the good in people. It's very charming, it's very sweet, it's sort of classical. It is a classic now, I guess. It's sort of like a classic. So I am choosing 2 books that are just as charming, just as wonderful, just as warm and cozy as Raindrops on Roses and Whiskers on Kittens. Anyway, one of them is Apple of My Eye by Helene Hanff. This is one of my favorite books ever. It is delicious and warm and cozy and fascinating and so clever and funny. And the other one is The Dragonfly Pool by Eva Ibbotson. This actually feels very much like The Sound of Music. Like even the landscape and the setting is very similar to that one of The Sound of Music. So there you go. If you enjoy The Sound of Music, and who doesn't, try these. Now, coming in at number 2 is another super popular musical. Let's face it, it is the most popular musical. It is. Sing once again with me our strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. And though you turn from me to glance behind, the phantom of the opera is there, inside your mind. I literally have no voice. Why am I doing a book tag that requires singing right now? I have no idea. Anyway, where am I? There I am. The Phantom of the Opera is, of course, the musical par excellence. It's a staple of musical theater. If you like it, if you don't like it, doesn't make any difference. It is what it is. You can say that it's melodramatic, that it is overplayed, that it's such a cliche, that it's so boring. I have a lot of personal memories, a lot of personal history with the show. My grandmother took me to see The Phantom of the Opera when I was 7. When she died, I sang a song from Phantom, Music of the Night. It's a musical that has played out a very big role in my life, and it's in me. It's part of my identity. So, The Phantom is a book that is the bestseller, the popular choice, the popular musical. So I am choosing a book that is very popular and sort of a staple of modern literary fiction, at least from what I gather here on BookTube. It's a very beloved book. It's a book that is loved by many people, and I love it as well. And that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Another book that I will be rereading this year before the movie comes out. So if you want to read this with me, also let me know. We have to read this before the movie comes out. I am very, very anxious about that movie, by the way. Who knows what they're going to do. And finally, my number 1 favorite musical that I have ever seen in my life, the best experience, the most memorable experience, an evening at the theater that I shall never forget. It was very, very simple for me. It's a show that I have only seen once, but that was enough. It was so unique and so wonderful and so spellbinding that it only took one show, one performance to know that this was my favorite show. It is my favorite score. It is my favorite story from any Broadway musical because it's just the perfect combination of hilarity and aggression and violence and wackiness. But then the lyrics are genius, and it's probably my favorite score by my favorite composer. So this is, of course, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street by Stephen Sondheim. And Stephen Sondheim is kind of like my Shakespeare or my Jesus Christ, pretty much. He is just right at the top. And Sweeney Todd, I was able to see the show last year in New York, this wonderful production at the Barrow Street Theater. And it was the most incredible experience. So I don't really have anything else that I'd like to say. It was just the best. So what book do you think that I am pairing with Sweeney Todd? It's another book that also combines hilarity, humor, aggression and hyperviolence. So, of course, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, one of my favorite novels. I think this is great literature. I really, really do. It's a book that I hold very, very highly, just as Sweeney Todd. Well, maybe not as much. I mean, Sweeney Todd for me is like perfection, but American Psycho is pretty perfect. So yeah, I think it's a very obvious choice. So there you go, people. That was the my favorite musicals tag. It was a very long video to make, and I will probably have to edit a lot of things out that you will never see. They will never see the light of day. Oh my god, so much ridiculousness that I did here, and you'll never see it. So there you go. I tagged some people already at the beginning, so that's it. Goodbye.